Chapter 4, Section 2, the troubleshooting process steps. These will be the same in ITE and in CCNA. When you get to comms, it's going to be different, but we'll talk about that when we get to comms. However, you're definitely going to need to know this. All of ITE, all of CCNA, and it's going to be at the end of every single chapter from now on is going to be troubleshooting. Troubleshooting is going to be a large part of your job. You may finish a 12-hour watch, and then at the end of your watch, 5 minutes before you're supposed to go, something goes down. Something really important. Well, guess what? You're not going to be able to leave until it's done. So you're going to have to troubleshoot, right? Maybe that takes 11 hours. And then you got an hour before your next shift starts, right? So troubleshooting is relevant to you because that directly impacts your liberty, right? Or if you're working, right? Oh, I can't watch YouTube or work on this other job or this other collateral because I've got to troubleshoot and get this system up and running. Good to go? Awesome. Now, yeah, so we'll just keep going through all of this stuff. So a backup. Backups, our computers are going to have backups, hopefully, right? There's different things that we're going to back up on our computer, user files, system files. We'll learn about incremental backups, etc. But you want to do backups regularly. These may be daily, weekly, monthly, etc. So that way if data is lost, you can restore it if it's gone. You also want to validate these backups. Maybe you've got a certain system, a proprietary application or system. You want to make sure that your system can be restored from that backup, that a company isn't, oh, we've been doing backups for years, so we're good to go. And then when you finally need to use it, no stress, we've got our backup, we're good to go. You load it up, and oh crap, what's the point of us doing all this work, and now we don't have a valid backup. Make sense to everyone? Awesome. So some of the things you want to record is, for the backups, is when was the last backup done? What's in that backup? What's the data integrity of that backup? Data at rest, when it's being stored, and when is that backup available? Is it stored on site? Is it on that computer? Is it somewhere else, etc.? Now this is a civilian or commercial course, kind of to prepare you for being a base IT, where you'd be working with customers that have an issue. So if you're going to an individual customer, you want to make sure that they have a backup. If they don't have a backup, you need to create one, of course with their permission. If there is no backup, you're going to want to have or need to have written permission to work on that device without a backup. Because if something goes wrong, right, you're to blame, right? You're at fault. So you want to have a backup. But if not, you're going to sign a liability release form. What does that do? It releases you from liability. So like, oh, hey, I signed, you signed, we both know that you didn't have a backup, that, oh, I had permission to do this. Now also when you're doing work, you're going to sign what's called an SLA, a service level agreement. That is an agreement on the level of service that you're going to provide. It'll say, oh, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. So for example, oh, I just am going to upgrade your RAM. So you upgrade this person's RAM, but while you were in there, you notice, oh, this hard drive's broken. Let me change this out, or let me upgrade their operating system. There's no backup and all their files are gone. So the service level agreement protects you. It also protects that customer. This is what we agreed to that you were going to do. I didn't agree to you doing all this other stuff which caused this issue, or now you want to charge me for. So it protects you and the customer. If you go in, you upgrade the RAM and you notice something else needs to be done, well, then you go back to the customer and say, hey, I noticed this, and you update that SLA, which stands for Service Level Agreement. Does that make sense to everybody? And what are we going to fill out if we don't have a backup? Liability release form. Releases you from liability if the customer doesn't have a backup. If that data is lost or corrupted, you won't be at fault. And the description of the work to be performed. on that liability release form. I know you don't have a current backup. I'm going to do this, this, and this. Oh, I did this, this, and this, and your data was lost, but we agreed that was a potential risk, right? But oh, I did this, this, and oh, I did this thing down here. That customer can be like, well, hey, we didn't agree to that, and now you're culpable to liability or potential lawsuit, or for you, NJP, and you could be awarded half month's pay or whatever. Good to go? More time to write? Yes. Okay. There's a very angry person on the right.
That's sort of like Skipper when he asked you to take a look at his PC, and he did mention he had everything written to the desktop, like all his files.
Oh, yeah, inside of the share drive.
And he decided to do a little extra maintenance.
Yeah, and all his stuff are gone and a bad day.
Stands for service level agreement?
Service level agreement for SLA. All right, let's move on. All right. So the troubleshooting process. We 100% need to know this. We need to have it memorized. But what's more important is how often I eat tacos. I eat tacos every... Have you all heard that joke? A Roman walks into the bar and says, I'll have 5 beers. No, because this is Roman numeral 5, right? I eat tacos every 5 days. That's the mnemonic or the tactic I use to remember the troubleshooting process. You can come up with a different one, but it's IET, EVD. I eat tacos every 5 days. That's what we'll use, the mnemonic we'll use to remember this. So the I stands for identify the problem. Before you realize or work on something, you have to accept or realize, identify that a problem exists. 2, establish a theory of probable cause. It's on the screen as well. 3, I eat tacos. Identify the problem, establish a theory of probable cause. And the T is test the theory. To determine the cause. I eat tacos every 5 days. Identify the problem, establish a theory of probable cause, test the theory to determine the cause, and then establish a plan of action to resolve. Establish a plan of action to resolve the problem and implement solutions. I eat tacos every 5 days. Identify the problem. Establish a theory of probable cause. test the theory to determine the cause, establish a plan of action to resolve the problem and implement solutions, verify full system functionality, and implement preventative measures. And 6, document, document, document. Document the findings, actions, and outcomes. What was the mnemonic we used? Do you remember this? I eat tacos every 5 days. Think we can remember that? I hope so. It's going to be in every chapter from here on out. We'll deep dive into each of these. So I eat tacos every 5 days. We need more time to write. All right, so let's start with step 1 of the troubleshooting process, which is identify the problem. So for you as an IT, you're going to be notified somehow that there's a problem. Ring, ring, ring. You're going to answer a phone. Now, and a customer is going to tell you what the problem is. You may not know who's calling you. Could just be Seaman Timmy. It could be Seaman Timmy calling on behalf of an admiral or a captain. You don't know. Now, we call etiquette in our field military bearing, which we always are going to have military bearing, right? But here we're calling it conversation etiquette. You want to ask direct questions so you can narrow down what that problem is. Don't use jargon. Your RAM, is it seated? Are you using DDR4 or GDDR RAM? Well, what? They're speaking a different language to me. I don't know, right? Pretend like you're talking to an older person maybe, that your grandparent that doesn't know, right? But it also depends on what type of customer you're talking to. Don't talk down to them. Don't insult them. Do not accuse them of causing the problem, although they most likely did. All right, so when you get to your job, one of the first things while you're getting qualified is you're probably going to be answering the phone. And that's all you're probably going to be able to do. It's important to remember when you answer that phone to get as much information as possible. I've run into situations where someone's told me or told my chief, oh, hey, somebody called for you. Oh, who was it? I don't know. What ship are they from? I don't know. What did they call about? I don't know. What's their callback number? I don't know. You gave me nothing, right? So you should have, and a lot of phones do have, pads to write down information. You want to get their rank, their name, what command or what ship they're calling from, definitely a callback number, right, which you should have, caller ID. So while you're picking that up and you're starting talking, immediately write that phone number down, their name, where they're from, what their issue is, etc. Does that make sense to everyone? Now, before that, next to your phone, you're probably going to have a script that you'll have memorized. It's going to say, good morning, evening, afternoon, sir, ma'am. Some may say chief, even though that's not a gender. Please be advised, this is a non-secure line. How may I help you? So you'll just get really used to saying that, right? And then you're going to collect as much information as possible, right? We already talked about customer information. For the civilian side, what company do they work for? For us, that's name. You've got your meeting with SSO? That's fine. Get their name, their address, and of course their phone number. You're going to also get some other information about their computer. Are they using a laptop or a desktop? What's the manufacturer? Is it a Dell? Is it an HP? Which operating system are they using? Are they in a wired or wireless network environment? And a description of the problem. Now here, you're going to ask them different types of questions. The two main categories of questions are open and closed-ended questions. A closed-ended question can only result in a yes or no response. An open-ended question is anything that's not going to be open-ended. So for example, let's do is today Tuesday? Yes, that would be closed. What day of the week is it? Tuesday, that's open, right? So if you don't know, right, just answer the question. Oh, the answer wasn't yes or no, so it's open, right? Let's do some more. Is your computer powered on? So that'd be open or closed. What were you doing when the issue first occurred? Open. All right, so let's do some practices. Somebody asked me, or a few people asked me, some random closed-ended questions. Right here. Abdul. Did I eat today? Yes, that would be closed. What's another one? Is your refrigerator running? Yes. Well, then you better go catch it. Another one. What's that? Are we a good class?
That's open. That's so open.
Yet to be seen.
That's so open.
Good so far. Yeah. Do I have a personal computer? Yes. Those are all examples of closed-ended questions. All right, now open-ended questions. Let's ask some random open-ended questions. How am I doing today? That's open-ended.
What's in your wallet?
What's in your wallet? Capital One.
What's the career symposium about?
What's the career symposium about? It's a good question. Chief can answer that later, I think. What's my favorite kind of monitor? Nah.
What's your social security number?
What's my social security number? That's the one I'm going to answer, yeah.
What's the weather like outside?
What's the weather like outside? Those are all open-ended. All right, so now let's switch. What are some more IT troubleshooting-focused open-ended questions we can think of? Or do you want to do closed-ended first? Let's do closed-ended IT troubleshooting. Newton. Is your computer on? Did you try unplugging it? Are you connected to Wi-Fi? Now let's try some open-ended questions.
Can you describe what you were doing when you experienced the error?
Can you describe what you were doing when you experienced the error? Newton again. What does your screen look like? What have you done already? How may I help you? All right, so let's go. Those are all open-ended. Very good. Let's go back to Petty Officer Van Kirk's. What were you doing when the problem occurred? This is a fantastic question to ask because most likely what they were doing when the problem occurred is very relevant to what caused it, right? My monitor's not working. Oh, what were you doing? Well, I was drinking my coffee and my coworker bumped me and I spilled coffee all over the monitor. Huh. Well, help narrow down the troubleshooting, right? Or for software, right? What were you doing? Oh, well, a pop-up came up and said I need to restart my computer and I hit restart and then, oh, it shut down and it's rebooting, but now it's back up. Thanks for calling. Your problem's now fixed. Good to go? Okay, question.
I was wondering, like, in replace of using like IT jargon, how would you be able to explain what the solution could be?
That's a good question. So how do you replace IT jargon when you're talking to that customer to explain what the problem is? So in this stage, right, we're gathering information, right? So a lot of the terms that we're using in this course, probably already noticed, right, it's all jargon, right? So it depends on who you're talking to. In the Navy, you're probably going to be troubleshooting with another IT somewhere else, right? So that's less relevant, right? Like, hey, I need to make sure you guys are testing and you're good in-house with your equipment, and they'll know what to do and a lot of that jargon. For the customer civilian side, We're going to learn later about how to talk to different people, etc. But you just use basic terms. Think about you before the Navy. Think about it as if you're talking to a grandparent. Like, okay, you see your mouse moving when you move the mouse. You see that icon, that start button in the lower left-hand corner? Okay, let's move the mouse there. Let's click on that. Or what do you currently see? Just a lot of open-ended questions, but depends on the, yeah. Great question. Does that make sense? We good? Anyone else? Okay. We talked about open and closed-ended questions. You want to document their responses. Can someone ask me an open-ended question? Oh, wait, we already did that, right? Nobody likes to do the same thing over again, right? The customer could get annoyed. Oh, they already asked me that question, right? Document it so you don't have to ask them again. Also, if it gets elevated or I had to deal with another technician, there'll be a log and recordings of all of their previous responses. So if they had to deal with someone else, they're not going through that same process and repeating things. So it annoys the customer less, and it's more efficient, so you can get troubleshooting done faster. Good to go? Okay. Beep codes. What the heck is a beep code? I heard BIOS. BIOS. So BIOS, when do these beep codes occur? I heard after post. During post. Very good. These vary by motherboard manufacturer. What does post stand for? Power on self-test. These beep codes indicate what type of problem? Post is doing what? All the hardware, right? So it's going to indicate a hardware problem for us, right? Customers say, oh no, every time I try to turn on my computer, it beeps 3 times and nothing happens. Oh, okay, well, let me look up that customer, see what type of computer they have, their motherboard. 3 beep codes. Oh, there's that issue. It's your graphics card or whatever it is, and then we can work on a solution. Make sense? Awesome. BIOS information. Remember, that's what's booting up our device. It can identify issues, hardware issues with post, but also some software stuff, right? Starting our operating system. We want to make sure these BIOS settings are correct. BIOS settings are stored on what chip? CMOS, very good. Powered by the CMOS battery. All right, now we're going to get into some diagnostic tools. In Chapter 11, we're going to go really heavy and start to really get into the software. So right now, we're just going to start with Event Viewer. So Event Viewer, we can go into various system settings and we can see logs or recordings of different events that have occurred in the computer. It'll tell us what program or application, what problem occurred. It'll tell us the date and time that it occurred, as well as the severity. It'll have different icons to indicate how severe is this problem. Is it informational? Is it physical error, etc. It gives us the source, and each log, each error is going to have an event, so you can identify them. It's also going to say which user was logged in during that time, because maybe this is a problem just for one user logged in, or maybe it's all users. But it can help you narrow it down.
Does an event necessarily mean an error, or is it just like anything?
There are some that are informational as well. And you can change the settings, what's logged, etc. But generally, we want to do more logging so we can record things, especially in our industry on government systems. Good? So here we've got a few options. We've got Windows logs, application and service logs. You also have custom views where you can customize some things. But we'll deep dive into this later when we start to get a better understanding of software. Questions on Event Viewer? Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is Device Manager. Ooh, we talked about Device Manager earlier today. What's something I can see on Device Manager? Starts with a D. Drivers, device drivers. Device drivers are translators for our hardware, right? Each piece of hardware is going to have its own driver. So look at this up here, right? We see the device manager. I see my audio devices, my drives, my optical drives. There's my printer. Those are going to have drivers. Each piece of hardware has that driver to operate as that translator for that hardware. Because each of them are going to speak kind of a different language. They need a translator. Good to go? The next thing we've got is Task Manager. You've probably opened this up before on your computer with Control-Alt-Delete. Open up Task Manager. You probably use this to force close or force quit applications. There's a lot more in there. So you've got your applications, you have your utilization as well, your background processes, and you can do other troubleshooting steps on there as well. But we're going to deep dive into all of these things in a later chapter. Hodges good? Jackson? All right, moving on. All right, I'll ask the question, you tell me, is it open or closed-ended? What problems are you experiencing with your computer or network? Open. What were you doing when the problem was identified? Open. What software has been installed on your computer recently? Open. And these are all great examples of good questions to ask. What hardware changes have been made recently to your computer? Open. Can you reproduce the problem? Closed. Are you currently logged into the network? Closed. Wake him up. Have you changed your password recently? Closed. Has anyone else used your computer recently? Closed. Have you received any error messages on your computer? Closed. Good to go. Questions? We're all awake? We need to shake it off? Okay. All right. So that was step one. Step one of the troubleshooting process is identify the problem. What's the phrase, the mnemonic we use to remember the troubleshooting steps? I eat tacos every 5 days. So step two of the troubleshooting process is establish a theory of probable cause. This computer won't turn on. Do I think that the motherboard is broken and I should open it up, use a multimeter to test the voltages on all the buses? Or maybe I start with, is it plugged in? Which one's going to be simpler? Which one's going to be easier? Make sense to everyone? Awesome. So when we're establishing our theories, we want to first create a list of the most common or most likely / the easiest things to fix for that error. Now, we're also going to keep a log of all these issues, right? I'll pull up that customer's account and be like, oh, the last 5 times they called, this was the issue. You might that first in that situation because it fixed it the last 5 times. Most likely that's going to be the issue. Make sense? Yes. But for us, right, we want to start with the easiest things. We don't want to just start taking apart our computer and going too in the weeds. I've definitely done that before as an IT. I've skipped over really simple troubleshooting steps and I've spent hours getting into the weeds of troubleshooting, and then someone's like, I'm working with someone else and troubleshooting, and they're like, wait, did you try this? I'm like, I had to have. That's simple. How could I not check that? Did, fixed it, and I'm like, well, there's hours of my life gone away. So even as you build your IT experience, right, try to start small and go with those basic stuff.
Yeah, you find the higher you get in your career, the more easily that happens.
It does, yeah. The more knowledge you get, the more likely you just go down the rabbit hole and it doesn't get fixed. So in IT, right, or in commercial IT, they kind of address that issue by having different levels of technician. The level 1 technician, they're going to get the call and do all the logging, get the customer information, ask the basic questions, and run through basic troubleshooting steps. And then, right, if they can't solve it, it goes to level 2, so that way they'll work on the more advanced things. But you, in the Navy, you're going to be working at every level of the troubleshooting process. Good? Okay. Next, I eat tacos every 5 days. Step 1 is identify the problem. Step 2, establish a theory of probable cause. 3, test the theory. So we have our list. We've established a theory. We've got a list. We've got a few things to do. What I'm not going to do is test all of them at once and try to fix, and I'm going to plug it in. I'm going to make sure the RAM's seated, do all these things. It's working. Well, which one of those things fixed the problem? We don't know because I did multiple things. You want to take one action, see if it fixed it. If it didn't, move on to the next thing. In your logging, in your reporting, you're going to have to list the troubleshooting steps you took, the actions you took, because these are government systems. And because of that, some of these are very high visible. They may go out to the fleet, this is broken. And they need to know the fix action or what was done to fix it. There is no such thing as magic. Spoiler alert. But in the fleet, we use a term called PFM, pure frickin' magic. That doesn't really work, right? No, Chief, it just came back up. Okay? Well, can't really put that in the logs, right? We've got to come up with something. So that's why you've got to troubleshoot correctly. Now, I feel a lot of the PFM excuses come from layer 1 issues, which we'll get into later, but power and grounding. The noise that we talked about, or things not properly being grounded, getting that consistent power, causes a lot of things to degrade or go downtime and then come back up. So checking that grounding is a great troubleshooting step to try to prevent PFM. Good? Okay, so we're testing one of these each at a time. Test the theory, starting with the quickest and easiest. If that doesn't do it, go to the next one. But you're recording each thing you're doing along the way. If you run out of steps to test, what do you think you need to do? I made this list here of common things, and then in test the theory, I tested all of them. Well, now I got to go back to establish a theory of probable cause, go back to the drawing board and come up with another list of potential causes. Hoo-yah? All right. This is a work order. I'll show you all later on through this course, and you've probably seen me put in a trouble ticket for your accounts. The Navy uses typically a system called Remedy, an online ticketing service to submit that you have an issue. This is an example of something that's not that, that'll have basic information, company name, customer name, phone number, etc. You can do the category or severity of the ticket, which building, which room it's in, the make and model, the type of network, a description of the problem, etc. This is also where the technicians are going to log every action that's taken. Replacement parts as well. Oh, I ordered this part. Let's say a customer needs a new monitor. They got a ticket in, and it'll include probably a shipping or a tracking number. So the customer calls a few days later, hey, I haven't gotten it yet. Well, you can look it up. Oh, here's the tracking number right here. Let me look it up for you. While I'm doing that, I can provide it for you so you can look it up on your own. Oh, I noticed that it was delayed because of a blizzard in New York. Well, however, we have a different monitor. It's not the same one you had in our warehouse. We can temporarily give that to you until that gets there. With this temporary replacement of a lower quality or similar quality work until that part gets there. Does that make sense to everyone? We want to provide consistent updating to those customers. Now for you as well, logging all this stuff, we talked about Liberty. Troubleshooting takes a lot of your day. If you're not updating the work orders, the tickets, the logs, well then later on you may be like, I wish I wrote it down. I fixed this problem before, but I can't remember what it is. Or somebody else working on it. When they just looked it up, here what it was last time, and very detailed. And then 5 minutes or less, you've got it fixed instead of spending hours and hours or calling somebody on their off day, trying to get a hold of the technician that did it. This is really important. Everybody good? All right. Establish a plan of action to resolve the problem and implement the solution. So after we've determined the exact cause of the problem, the RAM's faulty, power supply is bad, then we're going to establish a plan to implement it and actually implement the solution. Places to research these. If we don't find a solution and we need to do more research, well, we're going to look in our logs, of course, from other technicians, from us and all of that stuff. We're going to ask other technicians, people that have been on our command longer. Ask the chief. They always know the answer. You can look at tech manuals. You're going to have a lot of pubs or publications in your work center. In fact, part of the qualification process is reading those publications. I recommend reading them cover to cover, although I understand not everybody likes that. Technical websites, forums, news groups, computer manuals, device manuals, forums, your SOPs or your standard operating procedures. Easy day? In IT, you're going to get really good at Google dorking or using Google. And in between modules, we'll explain some more of that stuff as we work together in the next few months. GitHub. Good? And finally, verify full system functionality, and if applicable, implement preventative measures. Preventative measures, so that way it doesn't happen again and they're calling the next day with the same issue, causing us to do more work, or you more work, or a different technician. It'd be easy if it's you because you worked on it yesterday or you're already there. Now you also want to verify full system functionality because you may be driving out or walking out to this ship or this office, wherever you're at to fix this issue. Well, if you're replacing RAM in a computer, you're doing something, you're already at this computer. You're familiar with the problem, and you fix this one thing, but you want to make sure that the system works 100% for what that user needs it to before you go away. And they call and be like, oh, I can't connect to the internet. You're like, oh, crap, I forgot to plug in the Ethernet cable. Let me go all the way back and do it. Or another technician the next day. They're going to go through all the troubleshooting steps. You're right here. Verify full system functionality. That's for customer satisfaction and for you and your coworkers, right? That everything is going to be operational, less time, more efficient. Does that make sense to everyone? Any questions? Okay? Yeah, right here. Yeah, so there are different groups and forums online on Facebook. You'll see a lot of people ask like IT questions online. So there's different forums. But you said news articles, right? Oh, knowledge base. That's talking to your coworkers or civilians or whoever, right? There's people out there that know the information. And you get into the command for the first time, there's people that are leaving that have been there that most likely know how to fix it, where to find the problem, or where to go to find a solution.
Okay, but there's no like
Repository of information?
yeah.
No. Your publications, your logs of your tickets, those would be the repositories. So, but there are different like categories of knowledge bases. Your ticketing system, all your publications, etc. There are online forums, Facebook groups, etc. That work? Yeah. Okay. Anything else? All right, last step. I eat tacos every 5 days. The D is for document, document, document. I think you've heard me be emphasizing this throughout this entire process. The documentation is very, very important. You're going to document what actions you took, what time. If you're going to do replacement parts, the serial numbers of those parts. If you're ordering new parts, the tracking numbers. All of the information from all of the steps from when the customer first calls to when the ticket's finally closed. Document, document, document. What was the problem? Every single step you took and the components used in the repair. Questions? Okay. So, what are the steps of the troubleshooting process? What's the mnemonic we use? I eat tacos every 5 days. The I is identify the problem. 2, establish a theory of probable cause. Everybody, 3, T. Test the theory to determine the cause. All right, still a little weak. 4. Establish a plan of action to resolve the problem and implement solutions. 5. Verify full system functionality and, if applicable, implement preventative measures. Next. Document findings, actions, and outcomes. Easy day? All right, and Chief has filled in those. You need to have this memorized. Good to go? The last section of this chapter, and the last section for almost every chapter, is going to be common problems and solutions. We're going to learn about different things, different hardwares, network, printers. At the end of every chapter, it's going to have common problems and solutions. This is going to be the lengthy part of the chapter, dry part of the chapter. So just something we have to make it through. But it's going to help us figure out, oh, what are these common problems, and how do I fix that common problem? Common hardware problems. Storage. Could be loose cables, but we know when we do maintenance, we're always checking for those loose cables. Motherboards and internal components, and then more, loose cables, failed components, wrong drivers. We need to update drivers or go back to a previous driver. Power supply, a faulty power supply, loose connections, or that power supply doesn't have enough wattage to power everything. our CPU and memory. Could be from an installation that gone awry or was done improperly, maybe improperly seated. Maybe our BIOS settings weren't updated for our new CPU. Maybe our cooling and our ventilating isn't good enough and our components are overheating, causing it to shut down. And displays. Could be loose cables, could be incorrect display settings, or of course, what is our translator for our hardware? Drivers. Easy day? All right. Common problems and solutions for storage devices. So let's start with the computer does not recognize an optical disc. All right, so if it doesn't understand it, maybe that disc was inserted upside down. Maybe more than one disc is inserted. Maybe the disc is damaged. These issues make sense to everyone? Awesome. Let's see. The computer does not recognize a removable external drive. Maybe the external drive is not seated properly. Okay. What does that mean? Seated. So what would the solution be if it's not seated properly? Reseat it or reinsert that drive. Maybe the external ports are disabled in BIOS. Right, you've got USB ports, HDMI ports. In BIOS, you could disable those. So if that's done, the solution then is to go into BIOS during post and then enable those ports. Maybe that external drive is faulty, then of course you would need a new external drive. Easy day? Any from that one, Chief? No? All right. We're not going to go over every single one of those. I'm putting it on you to make sure you go over those in detail. But the next section, we're going to go over for motherboards and internal components. We already know this one. The clock on the computer is no longer keeping the correct time in the BIOS, and it changes every time the computer reboots. What's going on? CMOS battery, maybe dying or loose. So how do we fix that? Well, we either secure the battery or we replace that battery. We've talked about this already. We good? Okay. Next, on the front of our case, we have LEDs that tell us when the hard drive is operating, reading and writing. If that LED does not light, it could be because the cable is loose. So then we need to reattach that cable. Or maybe that cable is oriented incorrectly. Remember those wirings we saw in that video? It had that diagram of where to put those front panel connectors. Maybe you didn't install it correctly, so make sure you look at that path again and install it in the correct order. Easy day? Let's see. Anything else we want to do on there, Chief? Okay. Let's move on to the next one. Power supplies. The computer will not turn on. That's a fun one. Let's do that. Well, maybe it's not plugged in to AC. So the solution is plug it in. Maybe that outlet is faulty. Well, try another outlet to see, is it that outlet or is it all the outlets? Is a breaker flipped? Maybe that power cord is faulty. Well, use a good power cord. Maybe the power supply has failed. We can use that power supply tester that we talked about yesterday to test that and confirm that theory, and then replace it with a good power supply. Hooyah? Awesome. Let's go to the next one down. The computer reboots, turns off unexpectedly, or there is smoke or the smell of burning electronics. So this could be that the power supply is failing. We need to replace that power supply. When the computer just is rebooting unexpectedly, randomly, the computer is turning off. This is different than I turn on the computer, after 2 minutes, it turns off or reboots. I turn it off, 2 minutes again. If it's more consistent, then you've got components that are overheating. But if it's kind of random, right, unexpectedly reboots, your power supply is failing. Good to go? Okay. I think there's the only two in there. Next, CPUs and memory. So let's start with the computer will not boot or it locks up. That means the computer is freezing. So this could be that the CPU is overheating. We know if it overheats, it's trying to save itself, right? So, it's overheating. I'm not going to keep operating. I'm going to shut down for safety so this component doesn't completely fry. So we either reinstall the CPU, upgrade our cooling, active and passive, probably more of active, get a bigger CPU fan. Maybe the CPU fan is failing. It's not operating at the RPMs that it should be. Replace that fan. Maybe the CPU has failed. You need to replace that CPU. Good to go? All right, if the computer does not recognize the RAM that you put in it, well, maybe the new RAM you bought is faulty. Could be you held it incorrectly and you fried it with more than 30 volts. Maybe the incorrect type of RAM. Maybe you were using a SRAM and you bought DDR5 slot, right? So it's got to be the right one. RAM has been added is not the same type of RAM that's already installed. It's got to be the same type of RAM. And maybe the RAM is loose. We went to the lab yesterday and we practiced in here, right? It's very common that that RAM is not seated or installed properly. So we want to check that it's installed or seated properly. Good to go? You upgrade Windows, and now the computer is slow. Well, I've just made an upgrade. Why is my computer going slower? Maybe you need more RAM. We already know, right? RAM speeds up your computer. Well, newer operating systems, they have more requirements. They're more resource intensive. Or maybe your video card, your GPU, doesn't have enough memory. So install a video card, a graphics card, that has more memory built into it. Good to go? Next, common problems for displays. Let's see, this is images on a display screen are distorted. Could be stretched, compressed, right? Maybe your display settings have been changed. Change them back to its factory settings and try to use that native or recommended setting. The display is not properly connected, right? Make sure your cables are seated or installed correctly. If they're loose, right, it's going to cause issues. Maybe your graphics card, your video card, your GPU is overheating. Power off your computer, open it up, clean it, check for dust, debris, make sure everything is efficient. And maybe your graphics card is just faulty. Your video card is bad, replace it, upgrade it. Good to go? Questions on any of those? Okay. Applying this to peripherals and everything. You are going to have a few things in the Navy, a tool for you. A personal tool is going to be your I Love Me binder. I think that's what you call them still, right? It's going to have all your certifications, probably your GMTs, all that stuff in there, because you're going to need this stuff. Your evals, all that stuff all the time. So it's convenient to have it all in a place. So I would start, get an I Love Me binder with all of your records, because you're going to need to turn them in multiple times. Now for the IT side, right, you're probably going to have a memo book. You should always have paper and pen with you to write things down. Have you seen those green memo books that people carry? You're going to want to have those, because you're going to be going to different buildings, different places, working with different people, and you need to document, right? You're going to have your evals, or your evaluations that are due. People hate doing them, right? You don't want to talk about yourself and what did I do over the course of a year? Well, go back to your book or your journal, your planner, and you can just, when do I need to do this eval for? The last quarter or the last year? Start there and, look at that. I did this day. I did this day. And your eval is going to write itself and make it a lot easier. So this is multifaceted. There's a lot of reason you need to do this for that admin stuff for you. And you're going to have to go back and record all this stuff anyway. Maybe you're off-site troubleshooting something, and you've got to come back to the office later and input it into the system. You don't want to not write it down. Be like, okay, what did I do? I completely forgot, right? Look at your notes. I did this at this time. I talked to this person. There's their number, etc. Does this make sense to everyone? So that way you and everyone else can have a history of repairs of actions that have been taken. All right. Anyone need more time? The internet. The internet is fantastic. It's great. There's definitely no bullies out there. You're going to use internet search engines to find your answers. Go on Ask Jeeves, maybe Google, maybe Bing to find issues. Beep code for this manufacturer, 2 beeps, what does that mean? Boom, should be right there. Manufacturers, frequently asked questions. You're going to look at your publications. You can find them online, technical forums, etc. Good to go? All right, a quiz. What refers to these to avoid repeating steps to determine what needs to be done next. I heard notes, okay. History of repairs is the correct answer, right? Because we don't want to repeat steps. What has the history of previously completed steps? History of repairs are logs. What allows a technician to determine what work has been performed on a specific computer in the past? I think that one's history of repairs, Chief.
First one's notes.
First one's notes. What includes descriptions of the problem and possible solutions that have been tried to correct the problem and the steps taken to repair? Journal. A place to view questions and answers to specific computer-related technical issues. Online forums and chat sites. Hit submit. Close. Look at that, we got it right. All right, any questions on that? All right. I told you this is the dry, boring part. More problems and solutions for hardware. What's RAID stand for? Redundant array of independent disks. So it's for redundancy and for speed. We need at least 2 drives. All right, so if your computer shows slow performance, it could be that your computer doesn't have enough RAM. So you would need to add more RAM. Or it could be your computer is overheating. You maybe haven't been doing maintenance and you need to do maintenance. Clean the fans, or maybe you need to add more fans. Good to go? All right, we'll look at that later. We'll look at that later. Are there any questions on Chapter 4? No. Okay. Homework tonight?